You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we start our journey on the road to WrestleMania. We play Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance and decide if we will play it forever or future endeavor.
You're fired!
All this plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I am the man of 1,001 nicknames. And you know what? I kind of still like 6-shooter, so I think we're going to go with 6-shooter for one more week. George Feis.
All right, and I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing, Chef's Kiss, one of my favorites. We'll see. WWF Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance.
As always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join in on the conversation on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod and on our brand new Patreon, patreon.com/Game Marks Pod. John.
George.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? You still reeling from Bret Hart?
Let me tell you something. There are very few things that we do here on this podcast that I'm like, God damn, that's cool.
Really?
Actually, no, that's a lie. There's a lot of things that I do that I go, God damn, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to rephrase that then. There are some things,
Jeez.
There are a lot of things that we do here on the podcast that are cool, but there are very few things that are jaw-droppingly cool and that I get to go, God, Johnny really kicked the shit out of this one.
Aww.
You absolutely killed it. The video version of last week's episode, the Bret Hart video game retrospective, is just, the video version's where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I watched both and I edited both because the video version just brings that much more to the table. Like, you could actually see what we're talking about. If we're talking about, I don't know, WrestleMania, the arcade game, you're going to see WrestleMania, the arcade game, on the screen. And I don't know, I just wanted to do something different here because it's more of a visual thing. I don't want to talk about it and then, you have to sit there on Google and look it up. But there are a few things I wanted to clarify that, of course, this is something that we planned for a while, so the notes were very long. Some things kind of get lost in the shuffle. Unfortunately, I left out two of my favorite games. I don't know how I did this. And that's Day of Reckoning and Day of Reckoning 2, where Bret is actually in the Legends section. I almost said DLC. DLC did not exist on the GameCube, but Bret is in these games, and if we want to cover him now, he looks great. For what these games were, they were an upgrade from WrestleMania 18 and 19 tremendously, and I think Day of Reckoning 2, more than Day of Reckoning 1, it was just top of the line. Bret looks great, and also, I mentioned that he was on 7 different video game covers. I completely forgot Royal Rumble for the SNES, which is so stupid because, I was looking at it while I was writing that list, and, 24 pages of notes, which if you join the Patreon and you're in the second tier and you get the show notes, you see what goes into them, things just kind of get lost. So I apologize. I'm not perfect. George knows that. Let's move on.
I accept you with all your flaws. But honestly,
I wish
these
my
things
wife
are going to
did.
happen. The same thing happened with the Taker episode. There's the reason that we do these is because it's just such a massive, expansive list of games, covering decades. So, there are going to be some things, and, we're not even talking about, because there's really no way of knowing, but likeness. There's games that use Bret Hart's likeness as a character. It's not directly Bret Hart, but it's his likeness, and that's a whole other just unbelievable.
Yeah, we can't really dive into that. It's just too much.
Yeah, it's almost untrackable. But new month, John. We are now in April, which means a new streamer spotlight, which I got to tell you, each time that we do these, I notice that the people that we give the shout out to step up their streaming game, and I hope it inspires them to create more awesome content. So thank you very much to Brett Va last month for being the streamer spotlight and just pumping out countless hours of amazing content. And now, for the month of April, a good friend of mine, Micro Pony. That's MicroPwny. If you come and hang out with us Wednesday night on the Game Marks Podcast Twitch channel, you are very familiar with Mike, aka Micro Pony. He and I and our friend Dom, who again, also a former streamer spotlight, love to drop into Verdansk. Now, Mike recently purchased, much like Johnny Clash, recently purchased his first gaming computer and made the switch from console to PC. So he is in a whole new world and just pretty much live streaming his entire first experience of PC gaming. And it is just the funniest thing ever. He's playing games he's never played before. He's reliving games that he had only on console when he was a little, like when he was younger. Like, it's awesome. It's so
exactly
cool
what I'm doing too. Screw these new games on Steam. I'm going for Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh,
which
God.
Which I talked about on Clash and Burn this week because that is actually back. Check out our Patreon for more.
The resurrection of Clash and Burn.
Now, GMP64. Episode 9 dropped last Thursday. What a doozy it was. We saw Becky Lynch try to get her title back from China. Didn't really go as planned. We saw the new MVP of DX, per se. And we saw a tag team title match. And oh boy, was that one good.
I mean, you use the word MVP a little bit differently than I would, but...
Montel Vontanius Porter.
But it's a really fun project that we do. It's cool to kind of book an entire show and then, go through the matches and do the commentary. It's a labor of love and just another thing that we are super, super proud to do. And again, monthly pay-per-views live on Twitch, so make sure to come and check those out. We're setting the stage for Survivor Series.
Ooh, I got something planned for Georgie.
Oh, I am very afraid of that.
All right, George, well, what do you say? We get into some gaming news now.
Call me while I'm taking a sip of tea. Let's do it. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
In case you missed it, the upcoming Resident Evil reboot movie Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City delayed its release from September to November 24th last week. But alongside the announcement, Sony and Screen Gems released a new synopsis for the title that teases what folks can expect to see later this year. Once the booming home of a pharmaceutical giant Umbrella Corporation, Raccoon City is now a dying Midwestern town. The company's exodus left the city a wasteland with great evil brewing along the surface. When that evil is unleashed, the townspeople are forever changed, and a small group of survivors must work together to uncover the truth behind Umbrella and make it through the night. Ooh. Now, last year, Sony shocked fans when it removed Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store. The removal came following negative reception and requests for refunds from the game, and it has yet to be reinstated. Last week, developer CD Projekt Red released a big patch for the game meant to make it run smoother on consoles, and during an investor call on March 30th, CD Projekt Red SVP of Business Development, Michael Nowakowski, discussed the possibility of the game returning to PlayStation. He said fans can still purchase the game on PS4 in physical format, but Nowakowski says the decision to bring the game back digitally remains in Sony's court. And that's all the gaming news we have. Check back next week.
All right, John. So, are you rebuying Cyberpunk?
Future endeavor. Yeah,
thought
no.
maybe this would swing you back over.
It crossed my mind for a second. Obviously, I have the PC now, so I could have gotten, the real version of it a while ago, and I just choose no. It left a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't know. It's not only that, like certain aspects of the game I've seen side by side, screenshots, like it just doesn't feel complete. I'm out. Sorry, I'm out. Sorry,
right,
CD Projekt Red.
Listen, there are only it's your opinion and you're entitled to it, and if you felt burned by the first game, listen, maybe you'll pick it up when it goes on sale and it's been out and stable for a while, who knows.
Yeah, and I know they're putting out DLC as well. They're getting ready for that, so maybe I don't know. Could pull me back in with something. Well, that remains to be seen.
Well, we'll see. But hey, I think it's time now for us to go to the highlight of every episode besides the game itself. It's time for the question of the week. Johnny, when I say gamer food, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, Mountain Dew Code Red and Taco Bell.
Exactly. For far too long, there's been this stigma about people who play video games that we're all out of shape and overweight. That's why we are proud to be partnering with Eat Right to bring fresh, high-quality, chef-prepared meals right to our listeners.
Eat Right is veteran-owned and offers delicious conventional keto and plant-based meal delivery directly to your door. Right now, you can use our code GameMarks to get 60% off your first order.
If you want to feel right, you better eat right. All right, Johnny boy. What's your Eat Right pick this week? What's your number one?
Oh, I got the cheeseburger bowl. Yeah, you heard me. A cheeseburger bowl. It was incredible.
That was a good one. But you know what's topping my charts this week right now? Dark chocolate cherry protein pancakes.
Yes.
I am a sucker for a sweet breakfast, but now it's a sweet breakfast that's portioned where I don't feel like crap afterwards, which is a problem for me. Usually, you go to a diner, you go to IHOP, you go to any kind of like mom and pop breakfast place, you get some kind of fun pancakes or French toast, and it is stacked high. And if you put a plate in front of me that's full of
It's gone.
desserty food, I'm eating the whole thing.
That's right, and when you sign up at eatright.life and use the code GameMarks, you will not only receive 60% off, which is massive. If you send that to us, proof that you did it, and use the hashtag GamerGains, you will get a free GameMarks gym bag. But all right, question of the week.
All right, so last week, the question was, would you want to bring back console exclusives? And John kind of tore me apart last week for my answer here. My answer did not go over well. I don't know. I just thought that there was something to it back in the day.
I definitely thought there was, and I mean, yeah, console exclusives are bad for everyone because you can't get them then. If you're not going to buy a console just for a wrestling game. I mean, maybe we did back in the day because we're psychopaths, but most people won't do that. And that brings me to one of the comments where someone said, no way, exclusives don't benefit fans at all. Give me more games, sure, but give those games to users on every platform. That comes from Will McDonough. And then Paul C. Button responds, unless it's Day of Reckoning. And I feel like that just defines the whole thing because without console exclusives, we probably wouldn't have had Day of Reckoning.
Exactly. Now, this is the argument that I made last week, is that would you rather have the same cookie cutter game on every console, or do you want a different gaming experience where maybe there's, a lesser known developer or publisher putting out a game that maybe changes things up? Maybe
the wrestling code.
Like maybe changes the landscape of gaming. It forces people out of their comfort zone. It forces, developers to maybe think outside the box in terms of wrestling games. And I feel like for a while, it kind of made games better. That was my rationale.
I agree.
But hey, this week's question comes from Jardid W. So which horror icon would you like to see in a wrestling game?
I like this one a lot. Obviously, there's Jason and all those that people want to see because they're very wrestling-esque already.
I have the character and the match I want.
I would like Chucky, but we haven't seen Hornswoggle in a game because, he's small, so maybe Chucky won't exactly work.
Oh, see, I was just going to say I want Jigsaw in the game from Saw, and I want Jigsaw and Swoggle in like a horror cage match.
Ooh. Why do you want to do that to Swoggle, though?
I know. I think Swoggle would win.
Okay. As long as it's not El Torito, I guess, right? What about just Ash from The Evil Dead?
Oh, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad guy, right?
No,
it could be a good guy.
Anyone. He's the main character. I don't know about the chainsaw arm in a wrestling game. That might be illegal.
Or the boomstick.
Yeah,
may not be great having a shotgun in there.
He could leave the boomstick home. What about an all-horror wrestling game? Kind of like Celebrity Deathmatch, but good and horror.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, House of Horrors match.
Very, very interesting question. Because if you think about it, it's literally endless.
Yeah.
You could, in theory, have a Swoggle versus Swoggle match. You could have like actual Swoggle versus
Zombie.
Leprechaun Swoggle.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. I like that one.
If we're talking like crossover, like, where you actually have wrestlers in there. Because then you can have, not necessarily a horror icon, but it's a scary bad guy from my childhood. You could do Kevin Nash versus Super Shredder.
Wait. Super Shredder scared you?
I mean, I was a kid.
Wait, hang on. Is this like a new development, or did I just forget this?
What do you mean? Like,
did you ever tell me this?
No, I mean, it's like, have you ever seen, like,
He's on the screen for like 30 seconds.
No.
And then he gets crushed.
No. I'm talking like, yeah, when he's like first, when he like pops up, dude.
Oh, that's all right. I cried when Bambi was about to get shot.
Were you a Free Willy kid? Did you like Free Willy?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but there was a dolphin one I think I liked better. I don't remember the name of it.
Flipper?
Yeah, that guy. I like Flipper better. All right, we are
the name of Flipper.
We are digressing hard. Radar the dolphin, is that the
Echo the dolphin?
Echo, not Radar. All right, we are digressing. All right, Jordan W., please message us on social media to claim your prize. And as usual, we now send this to you, the fans. Which horror icon would you like to see in a wrestling video game? But George, right now I'm tiptoeing.
Oh,
I'm walking to the edge, and I'm jumping off the diving board. Are you ready for our hashtag deep dive?
Let's do it.
I hope Super Shredder doesn't come out.
Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee.
Oh, baby, Bones Coffee. I got some brewing right now for as soon as we're done recording. I'm going to pop in some cannoli, and I'm going to have myself a drink.
Ready? It's a quality Nick Stapp style sip there of my lovely mug of Bones Coffee. Just finished off, very sad, shedding a tear, shedding a Super Shredder style tear for my last cup of the From Dusk Till Donuts. That was
time to reorder.
Climbed the ranks in this household of top tier. So next we're cracking open Paradise Pie, the other favorite key lime pie, graham cracker flavored coffee. Just unreal.
Sounds good.
It's great. Weather's starting to get a little warmer. It's the perfect summertime coffee.
Yeah, all right, guys. Bones Coffee. GameMarksPod.com/coffee. You could check that out today. Now, I am so ready for this. I'm very curious to know if this holds up in my brain because this was one of my favorite games as a kid. George, take it away.
All right. Road to WrestleMania. Released November 18th, 2001. For the Game Boy Advance. Developed at Natsumi. Published by THQ. And, just right out of the gate, you know it's a wrestling game, Mike.
Very familiar look to it. Like, not the Game Boy, like, pixel sprite aspect per se, but I remember playing this game growing up and thinking, like, holy crap, this is basically like No Mercy in my hands. Like, from the entrances to the videos to the style of it, like, you're not getting, like, the strong and weak grapples. You're not getting as many features. It's a Game Boy Advance game, but it's a good wrestling game. And if you think about it, in 2001, the same year, you're getting WWF Betrayal for the Game Boy Color, which is nowhere near this game.
Yeah, and I mean, so when you jump in right into the game, I have it on right in front of me. I'm looking at it right now. Game runs through, you see the THQ logo, you see the Jack's Pacific logo. You know, you see all the logos, and then you see that scratch WWF logo, and like, all right, like you start to get pumped. You're like, this is awesome. This is what's happening. The menu screen
No Mercy style
is just literally No Mercy without like that room setting.
Right.
It's got the chain link background. You can select what game modes you want to play. And then, you know, the chain link slides over. You get to pick your game modes. And then this was the only thing that kind of was weird to me. The character selection kind of feels like a different game, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But going back to the game itself, or the introduction itself, from that title screen, see the logo on a black logo on a black screen. Press start. You get your options of single or multiplayer via the Game Boy Advance Game Link cable, and then you have your exhibition mode.
I gotta say here, there are a lot of game types in this small game. We're not used to seeing this many within a handheld game, and now this is Game Boy Advance. This is the newer console, and they went above and beyond to like really load this game up, and not in a bad way.
I was going to say, content-wise, this has, I think, the most of any portable console that we've played so far.
Yeah, it has to be.
I think, and everything, just roster, game modes, the presentation, just everything about it just feels like they really stuffed this cartridge to the brim. But in your single player, you have your exhibition mode, which you could do single, tag team, triple threat, handicap, cage, and you can change your arena and match settings.
That was the coolest part, because also, similar to No Mercy, you have the really cool entrances. You have, like, you're used to seeing these arenas on like actual consoles, and now you don't get all of them. You don't have the options like in the shop to buy them as you did in a console game, but you now have like a good amount of arenas to go off of from the start.
Yeah.
We'll get to those.
In addition to exhibition, you also have Gauntlet, Season Mode, King of the Ring, which is up to 8 participants.
And you get a nice little let's talk about King of the Ring for a second, because some of these, they go a little above and beyond here. So King of the Ring, you 8 participants, sure. You get a nice little graphic at the end when you win of your guy on the top rope, whoever it may be. This is really the first time, other than the entrance, you're seeing your wrestler head on, like facing you. So a lot of those look kind of alien-like. I think they really capture these wrestlers from the side, not the front. But it does have like a nice congratulations. Now, the coolest part of this, we could get into more of this with the art style, but for every cutscene, for every, like this, congratulations screen, you have an actual wrestling crowd behind you. Like, they're taking, like, the WWE crowd with the signs, and then they're kind of like a PNG is being pasted over it of, like, the game itself.
Yeah,
it's really
and
cool.
It's definitely like a a tiled background because the signs repeat and stuff, but
I'll take it.
It's so interesting and so cool. And they do this for the things in the season mode too, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth in a little bit. You also have a Royal Rumble mode, which, not your typical Royal Rumble. This caps out at 24 wrestlers. Now, there's a reason behind that. And you can have 4 characters in the ring at once, which is, I'd say, pretty standard for this generation, As games progress and games go a little more advanced in terms of storage capability and stuff like that, you start seeing 6 and 8 wrestlers allowed in the ring at the same time. You have your Iron Man match, and of course, you can make your own pay-per-views. Now, this is really where John and I are going to take some time and talk about this, because this is kind of the bread and butter. The main course of this game here is the season mode.
That's right. So no matter which wrestler you pick, you start with, like we just said, the background of an actual wrestling crowd, an actual like Raw crowd. This is very like early 90s where there's so many signs in the arena. But then you have Vince McMahon start out and, it kind of like moves. So like it has some motion to it. And in theory, like he just cuts a promo. And at WrestleMania, we'll find out who deserves the heavyweight title belt. So then it shows who will be the next heavyweight champion. And now it flips to your character, whoever you pick. But it's only about, I would say, 12 matches in this, and you get these cutscenes here and there. If you even want to call them cutscenes, but it's just a way to progress the story. And very different here, because we do see some games with like a save state. You do need a code in this game to save your story, and each wrestler has their own unique set of codes. So if you did maybe want to just jump ahead and you remember the code, you wrote it down, or you have like the game FAQ back in the day, you can say, oh, you know what, I want Raven to go take the world title, and he'll jump right to the end, right at WrestleMania, and he could go right for the championship. No fun in that. You want to run through it. And as you run through it, you start with like the European title, the Intercontinental title. You go through all the belts until you get to the heavyweight belt. What bothered me is once you win one, you don't really defend them as much. You kind of just forget them and go to the next one, which I guess is standard in these games. They're not going to add like, oh, you know what? You have to lose it now. We're going to put a little cutscene in there. You're just all the champions.
Yeah, there's this other thing that happens that I thought was kind of cool or funny, I guess. Whenever someone's talking in the ring or they're showing someone in the ring in like those little like quote unquote cutscene moments, they're always like bopping up and down.
They bop
to make it look like they're walking, I guess. But it's just so funny because like you just see like the background pans, one like to the left, and then your character or whoever's talking is panning to the right, but they're like hopping up and down,
always circling the ring.
The illusion that they're just walking around. Either that's the largest ring, they're taking baby steps, or like John said, they're just walking in circles.
But like other than like I would make the pay-per-views back in the day and run through them, it wasn't as much fun. It kind of got a little repetitive. It's easier, I think, just to go in and just play the matches you want. But I mean, with that, with the Royal Rumble, with the King of the Ring, now you have a really cool season mode. This kind of adds a lot of value to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm out of the portable consoles by here, so I don't have Game Boy Advance. So I didn't end up playing this one. So this is a whole new experience for me. And I got to say, me playing this game in my 30s makes me wish that I had this game when I was a kid, because this is, for lack of a better term, it's a full console experience on a portable platform. It really covers all the bases here. Now, that being said, the roster for this game is a variable who's who of 2000s wrestling. So I think I'll take this one from you, John. I'll give you the rings and arenas this week. You can have this week off.
All right, but before we get into the roster, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
All right, we are back, and it is now time to go through the roster. Starting with Billy Gunn, Bradshaw, Bubba Ray Dudley, Chris Jericho, Christian, Devon Dudley, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Farouk, Hardcore Holly, Jeff Hardy, Kane, Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy, Raven, Rikishi, Steve Austin, Taz, The Rock, Triple H, The Undertaker, William Regal, and X-Pac.
This is a gigantic roster for a Game Boy Advance game. Not as big as the Fire Pro, but this is huge. And that's why the Royal Rumble is only 24 participants. It's not going to repeat guys like Royal Rumble, the arcade game.
And I like that. Yeah. I like that it goes, hey, every person that's in the game is in a slot in the Rumble, and we're not going to duplicate anybody, but it's close enough to the size of a regular Rumble that, you know, you get the experience, and also, it's not like a diminishing return here.
Yeah. Also, no Trish, Jackie. I guess they just couldn't put all those character models in here. I don't know background behind that, but a little odd for the time. But
yeah, very strange, very strange.
Let's run through these arenas right now because you have Raw, SmackDown, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania. Basically all of your big ones. And obviously SmackDown just looks so cool in all video game form with the blue ropes. I think it just makes everything pop a little more. Always absolutely. My go-to.
Absolutely. And, you know, overall, the arenas look good. There's branding on each one. They're all a little different. They all have their own unique little touches here and there to make it unique to nothing feels repeated. It doesn't feel like they just changed the ring aprons and everything else is the same. Like they're all unique in their own way, which is cool and definitely goes above and beyond.
Yeah, so let's get into the actual characters and the art right now because I guess you have some things to say.
This is going to be where I spend a lot of time talking about this game.
All right. So you have, I think it's a pretty good looking ring. You know, the character pops in front of it. It's not too big. It's not too small. You're not getting like that overhead angle. It's kind of side scrolling in a way, but you can go up and down as well. You can hit the ropes. I think you know which character is which. It's just their faces aren't too defined, I guess, but you could tell by like the gear. I always thought that like Hardcore Holly looked like Ric Flair, so in my mind I was actually Ric Flair. And if you look at X-Pac, he actually looks like Brian Myers at WrestleMania in the green gear, which is kind of funny.
So that's actually my big thing here is that some of the wrestlers look spot on. And then there's other wrestlers that it looks like they got 3/4 of the way of designing them and just said, yeah, that's good enough.
So the thing is, though, think about how small that Game Boy Advance screen was. It wasn't huge. For the time, it was an upgrade from Game Boy Color, but it wasn't huge, so all you needed was those small details.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, I guess in my head, I guess the two people that stood out to me, Hardcore Holly looks like, I don't even know if it looks like he's wearing a headband to me.
Yes.
His hair just looks like it's a headband. But, I guess I wanted something on the front of X-Pac's singlet. Even if it was just something small so that you knew. It doesn't need all the detail because X-Pac's singlet's very, very detailed. A lot of intricate line work in there and stuff. So I get you can't put everything in there. But like, you've got the different colors and the different tones in there. Why can't you just, you know, throw something on the chest to make it resemble a little bit more? And I guess the same could be said for Kurt Angle, where it's, you know, he was known for having, you know, we're referencing this against No Mercy. Big blue singlet, you know, giant, like, almost like Captain America, OG Captain America shield on the chest. So like, you give me something there just so that it's not generic wrestler walking out in a blue singlet. Like, give me some kind of detail on
But
there.
You know who it is. That's the point. You know who it is. I mean, beggars can't be choosers here. But, I mean, you look in the crowd, this looks like a 2000s wrestling crowd. Like, everyone's got, like, the beer gut, and they're all just cheering really loud. You got some guys in WWF shirts, some Dudley shirts. I think for a crowd, you know, I give it a pass.
I was saying, let me steal one of your lines again. Crowd looks good. Crowd, the crowd and the models are one and the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Helps with the immersion. We love to see that. I mean, presentation overall for this game is just something else.
Now the spirit meters, these are a little hard to understand, I think, when you first jump into it, but there is a way eventually, once you fill up one of the bars, that you have a special, and that's when you do hit these like good looking finishers. Like every wrestler has a finisher in here.
Yeah, this was the part of the game that kind of threw me for a loop here, where I didn't really understand this. So my first couple playthroughs through just like regular exhibition matches did not go so well, because I had to figure out. But you know what? That's a challenging game isn't always a bad thing. And for what it's worth, once you get the hang of it, it's a fairly easy game to play. And I think this spirit meter, not gigantic. It takes up a decent amount, but it's pretty tucked into the top corner, so it's not so distracting, but it's a different play on a wrestling game.
Right, I agree. I think overall the presentation is pretty damn good. Now, let's talk about the actual entrances and the soundtrack here, because every wrestler has their MIDI version of their own theme song. The Undertaker has a MIDI version of Rollin'. This is like mind-blowing for the time, because No Mercy, you get the Raw song, you get Thorn in Your Eye and SmackDown, but right now, like, you get, even though it's not the real song, you get that. X-Pac has the, yo, you're dealing with the X Factor, which is so cool. Eddie has Latino Heat, The Rock has his thing, the glass shattering is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Everyone has that No Mercy style. We keep saying it, but this is literally what No Mercy is. You get that, like, 4-slide entrance video to start with the cool
I actually think the animation of these entrance videos is better than No Mercy.
And then you walk down to the ring halfway, and then the next guy comes out. It's all you need.
It's pretty good presentation, and we've talked about it for the last year and a half on this podcast. I am a sucker, and if you watch our Twitch streams, you know that I love to utilize this as starting and ending music. I am a sucker for an 8-bit chiptune wrestling theme. So this, music-wise, this checks the box for me.
They killed these. Yeah, these are so good.
So
if you get a chance, head on over to YouTube and just put in Road to WrestleMania Game Boy Advance entrances. There's one video that just goes through all of them. They're well worth it.
So awesome.
Now, what do you say we get into this cover art?
I was just going to say, this...
Do you need anything more?
Nope. I was just going to say, we talk all the time about, like, oh, you know, do you really know it's a wrestling game just by looking at it? And, yes, the answer to this one is yes. It has a very, like, brushed metallic background that's got some glow where the wrestlers are. Big logo says Road to WrestleMania. Stone Cold Steve Austin, front and center.
That's all you
and
need.
The Brothers of Destruction behind him on each side. Like, this screams my childhood of wrestling. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, and then in the back it says Heartache, Glory, and WWF Mayhem. Various match types, including cage and hardcore, where it shows a nice screenshot of that cage match, which we should talk about. That cage looks great, and it obviously doesn't show the front part of the cage, so you have like a clear shot into the ring when you're looking at this.
Again, plays very similar to how, you know, full consoles play, where they'll give you 3 sides of the cage, and, you know, wherever your perspective comes from, that's the part that doesn't have the cage. It's good. Yep. It should be like that.
Yep, 24 WWF superstars with entrances and finishing moves, use weapons to defeat opponents, and battle it out with up to 4 players, with a nice shot of Kane in the background, giving a big boot. It looks like maybe to Chris Jericho, but something you said a few weeks ago, you appreciate when they're not just rectangles, which these are, but they do have nice, like, visualization of, like, a metal grate, like, around them. It looks really cool.
Yeah, they've got, like, that diamond plate steel around it, and it's just... It's good presentation. Now, granted, this is to be expected with a WWF game. I mean, the production value for their artwork and, you know, around this time, and for the games, like, they're on a hot streak here. So, like, they're their own worst enemy at this point.
Yeah, it ain't no thunder. That's what we're trying to say here.
Yeah. But, you know, with this cover art, the chiptune entrance themes, I think there's only one thing to talk about now, John.
What?
Did you know? Did you know Road to WrestleMania was the first WWF game to be released on the Game Boy Advance, and the only one released under the WWF name?
Did you know this game is preceded by WWE Road to WrestleMania X8, on the Game Boy Advance with similar style and an updated roster.
Did you know this game starts at $7.99 on eBay with the price of $14.99 complete and a whopping $200 unopened?
Ooh, are you going to be buying an unopened one and sending it to get graded? Because I know I'm not.
I'm torn on this whole game grading thing because, like, I think it's cool and it's like they talk about it like it's an investment. You can turn it around in the future. But at the same time, if I have a game, I want to play it.
So, okay, I agree and I disagree. I actually had a big discussion with David C. Anderson on his podcast, Chat 'em Up with DCA, a few weeks ago. And someone had asked me, like, how do I feel about the grading? Am I going to do it? Am I going to jump on board? I think what Smart Mark is doing is so cool, where he's getting these like kind of fresh covers and then putting the wrestlers on the cover like in front of them to display.
Yeah. Like what he's doing with Rumble and stuff. That's so cool.
You could find a box for like nothing to do that. And that's cool. That's a good display piece. If you have now a piece of plastic or glass around it with like a grading sticker, like that just doesn't look as cool. Sure, if you're going to flip this in the future, if you want to hold on to it for value, cool. Yeah, perfect. That's what that should be used for. For me, I'm not going to do this. But to go back to what you just said, you can't play them if they're graded. I have the Raw for the Xbox Special Edition with the Undertaker figure over here. There's no way I could ever even play that, and I don't plan on it. I think that's just cool to have. I'm not going to grade it, though.
But that's different, though. And we talked about this with last week's episode for the Bret Hart retrospect, is that cover is unique to that game. There's no special cover for the Royal Rumble for Sega or SNES. So like Mark's not getting the game for displaying because it's got like a special cover or anything like that. He's just getting it because he wants the whole thing complete and graded. Yeah. There's an Etsy shop that I have stored that literally does reproductions of like every game. So if you want a No Mercy box, they will reproduce the No Mercy box and the, what's it called? The cartridge holder, like whatever. What's that section called? That part of the box,
like the insert.
Yeah, the cartridge insert. Mm-hmm. They'll reproduce that whole thing, and it costs $10.
That's not bad at all. That's probably just.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah. I'll take if I wanted somewhere cool to store. I'm looking over at my left right now because I'm looking at my cartridge of No Mercy sitting in my N64. Like, I can take that cartridge and just be like, yeah, I can just put this complete if I want to have like a nice weighted box to put in my DTOL for display on somewhere. Like, I get it and I don't. Like,
it's to each their own. It's, you're not right. You're not wrong. It's whatever you want.
Yeah. No one is ever going to be able to tell you that your collection is wrong because it's your collection.
Yeah. And I'm not going to judge you if you are someone that goes and gets your games graded. Do whatever you'd like. It's your collection.
I will say this though. I think might be onto something with the whole getting figures that match the games.
I'm not treading that water.
Still waiting on that Mortis figure. Literally every game or every figure company ever.
Yeah, keep waiting. You're looking a little tense there after talking about Mortis. What do you say you relax now? We've done a lot today.
Nobody's better than Canyon.
This is not the first time we've recorded anything today. We're a little stressed. We've been going for a while. Is it time for some ratings and reviews?
I want that nice, relaxing music. I'm gonna go play with my Zen garden while you do this.
Did not know what you were gonna say there. All right. Metacritic with an overall 62 out of 100. CVG with a 6 out of 10. GameSpot with a 7.8 out of 10. GameZone with an 8 out of 10. IGN with a 3 out of 10. And Nintendo Power with a 3.2 out of 5. Not a lot of ratings, but these ratings are decent, except IGN with a 3 out of 10. I'm not sure what that one's about. I did try to read some of the reviews out there, and I don't know, it's just people picking on little aspects of the game that they're used to in consoles that they're not going to ever get on a handheld. And you're just not. This isn't the perfect game, but when you think about a wrestling game that you want on handheld, that maybe you're done playing No Mercy and now you want to go bring your Game Boy somewhere and continue playing something that feels like a wrestling game, this is what you're going to get.
So here's the thing. I feel like First of all, can I just say something that I'm very excited about that we haven't experienced in a while?
Sure.
We haven't had like a 4.825 rating in a really long time, and that makes
Thank
me
God.
happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the 7.8. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's a level of, you need to manage expectations and take into consideration the console that you're playing and the game that you're playing. Like, yes, have high expectations because it's a WWF game and it's made by THQ and it's Jack Pacific and to me, like, these are all companies that have, proven themselves to be worthy of making wrestling video games. And, this is the hottest time in wrestling video
How the
games
mighty
here.
fall.
I mean, listen, 2001, this is it. This is the time to be playing wrestling video games. This is like, if you're not at the peak, you're damn close to it.
Yep.
And, take into consideration that you're playing this on a mobile game and you're getting what I am considering a full console experience. I mean, I'm on par with these ratings. It's there's definitely some pros to the game, and there's definitely some cons. I think the only one that I don't agree with is IGN.
Yeah, that's just weird. I don't know. Someone had a vendetta against THQ here. But with all that, we read all these ratings, but what about the most important rating? Our rating. Because, George, it's time to rate the games.
The game!
George Feis, I'm starting with you.
Oh, okay.
I've been throwing you off lately. WWF Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance. Will you play it forever?
Woo!
Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All right, so the last WWF game that we played for the Game Boy Advance was Survivor Series, and I mean that's
they just took this game and just mashed it up.
well, that's the thing. Survivor Series comes out in 2004.
Yeah.
Like, how is this better presentation than that?
Sometimes they just tried too hard, I guess. You don't need the realistic looking wrestlers when this works.
Yeah, I mean, the only glaring issue I have with this game is that the controls are hard to pick up in the beginning, but once you get into it, it's not a bad game. It checks all the boxes for me. It's got a lot of replayability here. I would imagine that had I had an Advance and a link cable back in the day, and a buddy who had this, I probably would have spent hours playing this. So I think I'm giving this the old play it forever. Woo! All right, Johnny Clash, it is now your turn. WWF Road to WrestleMania. Will you
Play it forever.
Play it forever? Woo! Yeah?
That's it. Play forever. This game held up exactly how I thought it would. This did not disappoint me at all. Sometimes I play these games like Thunder that I loved as a kid, and then they're just trash. But yeah, I'm in on this.
I 100% agree. All right. Well, hey, let's talk a little about that weekly tournament that we do here called Clash at the Feast. For this week's episode, you can go to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast and find out how we decided to settle the score for this week's. Now, so we played WWF Warzone to settle March. I assumed that I was going to walk away with this, but Johnny
what
Clash
happens when
here,
you assume?
Let's talk about this here. So we did a best of 3 in WWF Warzone for the PlayStation. First match, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. Sweet chin music. Bret goes down 1, 2, 3. George takes the first win.
Uh-huh.
Second match, The Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Same thing. Sweet chin music. 1, 2, 3. No. This time, go back and forth.
You got stunnered.
Yeah, I got like 3 or 4 stunners, and Johnny Clash walks away with round 2. Now, main event time. This is it. This is where the big boys play. Shawn Michaels versus Ahmed Johnson.
That's right. I put all 19 knee pads on for this one.
He actually wore 19 knee pads in the video of this. You just couldn't see them. Now, this was a back and forth, in and out of the ring. Crazy beat 'em up here. Lots of cross bodies, lots of gut wrench power bombs. But in the end,
George, wait, I want to say this one. What do we say when we're about to go into the deep dive sometimes? We're going to take the plunge? I think that's what Shawn did, because he took the Pearl River plunge. For your winner, tying up March, Johnny Clash, play my music.
Not everything's made to last. This is my life. This is my life. And this is my time. This is where I shine.
Now, we have to decide March, because it's currently tied. You're up 5-2 on the year. I really need this. So you told me I could lay out a challenge to you. So to settle March, I'm going to go back to the well here. And since it's WrestleMania season, we will be playing WrestleMania, the arcade game. Your face tells it all.
I almost just want to give it to you now. Might as well just put the check in the column for Johnny Clash for March, because I love that game, but I am not good at that game. So be on the lookout for when that video goes live, and watch me get my ass kicked in WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
All right, but George, this week, if you're listening to this on Monday, this Thursday, you could still buy FWF Live. It is streaming this Thursday at 8 p.m. That's April 8th. And you need to just go on to patreon.com/FWF Live to order. We take on Top Shelf Troy Nelson and Nick Stab. This is it. This is the dance. This is what you've been training for. If you've seen the videos, George has been training hard. We think he might be ready to put on a hold or something. We don't know.
Hey, listen, depending on what time you're listening to this, that my last training video may have dropped already, and I think you need to go check it out, because I'm kind of proud of that one. I feel like I really, over the course of the last couple of weeks, I kind of stepped up my game. I think I'm ready. John said that he has, when we started, John said that he had no faith in me, and now John says that he has
a little faith.
A little faith, and I'll take a little. And you know, I'm still nervous, still kind of hesitant.
Also, depending on when you're listening, George might be in a body cast. We don't know yet.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm not. But you know, I got a good feeling about this.
Back.
I think John's gonna be doing most of the heavy lifting here, but I'm ready.
We better hope so. But Georgie, tell us what we're playing next week.
All right. Well, like John said, it is Mania season, and you know, I figured time is now. Best place to be playing a WrestleMania game. It's on like a silver platter. So John, next week we are gonna be going back to the Super Nintendo as we play WWF Super WrestleMania.
I love it. I've mentioned many times this is one of the first games I remember as a child playing, so I'm in. Georgie, it's been fun. I like this game a lot.
Yeah, this was a good episode. Had a lot of fun this week.
Take us home.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon at Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Thanks for hanging out with us this week, guys. We really appreciate it. Make sure to go and check out FWF Live this Thursday, April 8th. Wash your hands, wear your mask, social distance, get vaccinated if you can. And Johnny Clash, do the little doobly-doo thing that you do at the end of every episode.
Doobly-doo. Game over. Doobly-doos. Marks.
You're going down, Troy.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.
What's up, Game Marks? This is Justin Summers from the Wrestling Cheers podcast, and on Wrestling Cheers, we'd like to talk about things going on in the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene, mainly absolute intense wrestling out of Cleveland, Ohio. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. These interviews can range from wrestlers to podcasters, and even interviews with fellow fans, finding out how we became fans and what we like about AIW. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wrestling Cheers, and you can also find us wherever you download your podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Pandora, and we're at Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. And once again, that's Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're a Game Mark.